Morning, afternoon, midday, whatever it is. I've got where I don't really keep up with the day of the week except for Sunday. I keep up with my schedule a little bit. And I really don't pay attention to what time it is anymore. I don't know why that is. What do you think, Steve?
Can't relate.
So I see you got your big cat over there behind you. I guess everybody saw the video Steve put out where he was making the big cat peeking over the fence thing, which looks remarkably small on the other side of the room like that. Because I know it's a quite the sizable little project you made.
Yeah, that one is it's about 28. It's just under 30 inches wide, so it's decent size. But yeah, that was working on the the IKEA K70 Max. It's their 70-watt 850 by 800 millimeter diode laser. You can switch between 70 and 35, so it's a lot like the Atom Stack A70s that we have, but a bigger frame. And figured I had to do something at least used part of the size of that thing. I wasn't really ready to make. I mean, that in of itself is going to be big enough, and it's probably not going to be able to be in the house because I'm sure it's probably going to freak out the cats. But yeah, I figured I had to do something of decent size with that one. So, and the funny thing was, I was working with it, the laser, and I was figuring out this project, and I'm like, this would be a really good, just a little quick project video too. So I figured I'd separate that out and share that out, and then I'll briefly mention it and talk about it in the overall review video, which hopefully it goes out Tuesday at this point. I got to do some more videoing tomorrow and then some editing. So
yeah, that was a cool one. Like I said, I watched your video on that one. I've been consuming a lot this week because I've been busy working in the shop and working on all of those over there, trying to knock my to-do list off for this week, because as some of the folks in the chat have already pointed out, it's a big week here in Chilton County for me. My friend May May's event is going to start this week, and Friday we're going to be doing that meet and greet out at the Jeff State campus, which reminds me that I've got some paperwork and some forms to build and stuff like that I got to work on tomorrow. So I'm going to be going through the shop tomorrow, probably go ahead and get the trailer loaded up, because I think I'm going to use a trailer to haul all this stuff so I don't have to put it in the back of my truck, just in the event that it rains. Not that it's going to. It did rain last night here for the first time in a while. But yeah. So we're going to be doing a meet and greet. I will have some shirts, limited quantity of shirts. I may try to do a sign-up list on that, so stay tuned. That way I can have your sizes. And Brandy said if I can get the sizes and know who's coming, she'd go ahead and bag it up and, put them in like a gallon size Ziploc or something, so you guys don't have to wait for us to dig through and find them. But I will have a limited quantity. I'll have extra, but these things are actually adding up, getting more and more expensive. So we'll see. But you stay tuned. I got more information coming this week on the event. I'm going to go peek my head in at May May's and see how they're doing there. And then I'll be coming back and doing some videos with you guys. So, yeah. It's going to be a fun-filled week this week. So,
yeah, I wish I could poke in for that, but that's a long drive for.
It's a good little ride for you.
For a meet and greet and a football game,
Yeah. Brian actually got up at like 7:30 this morning. So yeah, unfortunately, I haven't got to sleep late much.
So
I wish I could sleep late, but yeah, it's been very busy here since I retired. I haven't had a chance to go do the first little bit of fishing or nothing. Like, it's just been work.
Our oldest cat, who that's somewhat after, he's a black cat named Loki, and we're trying to put him on a diet because he got sick, I don't know, a few months ago, and we were working with the vet to try to figure out what's going on with him. So of course he didn't eat as much then, so we were trying all sorts of things to get him to eat then. Well, now he seems to have worked up an over appetite, and he's a little on the chonky side, and I don't want a diabetic cat. So I'm trying to like change his food and restrict his food, and he's not happy. So someone woke me up around 5:30 this morning and did not let me get back to sleep. So yeah. Anyway. So yeah, you've got that going on Friday. From the meet and greet, what you say is like from 10 to 4?
Yeah, we're going to try to be out of there as early as we can. So yeah, 10 to 4 is like the bare bones. Like if you want to catch us there, you better be there by 4. Because I think everybody's going to be trying to hustle out of there at 4.
It's more like 10 to 2.
Well, 10 to 3 is probably safe. I wouldn't wait to try to get there at 4. I'd set my goal for 3. Now we'll still be there, I'm sure, but 4 is kind of like that's like you're cutting it really close if you get there at 3:50. Yeah. But yeah, it's going to be a wild week. Like I said, I have stayed very busy lately, and I'm hoping I've got I think I've got all of the jobs out of here that I've got currently outstanding. I shouldn't have any jobs this week to do unless something comes in or I've forgotten something. And so hopefully I'll be able to go in and out up there. That'll give me time to get all of my stuff ready for the trip to go take all the machines up and all that good stuff. So we'll see.
Hope that all goes well. I'm sure you'll enjoy the extra space that you're going to be clearing out of the shop.
Yeah, because there's one of these machines it's been taking up quite a bit of room.
Yeah.
Somebody, I mean, like I said, nobody may want it. There may not be a soul that wants it, but I feel like there will. I've got right now, I know for a fact I've got 2 lasers and 2 CNCs, at least, maybe more. But right now, I know I got at least 2 lasers and 2 CNCs. One of the CNCs is, let's just say that it's not powerful enough to be doing big CNC stuff, but if you just want to engrave, like do some engraving, it'll do that. It's just you have to be slow and take your time. But sure. The other one, I'll go ahead and tell you what it is. It's a SaneSmart 3020 Pro Max, whatever, and it's a beast. Now it's small, so your work area is small, but you're not going to overload it. Like you can run 1/4-inch bits, and you can push those things pretty hard. You've got one, I've got one. It works really well. And there's one more machine that I may throw in the mix just to get some space. I hate to do it. I'm on the fence right now. But whereas at least the 3020 is going. I have another machine by the same company that I've thought about, but I want to keep it for content purposes. That's the only reason that I wouldn't throw it in the mix, is just for content purposes.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's the tough balance is hanging on to some of these machines to be able to revisit that or show it in a more, it's nice to be able to compare a benchtop machine that, typical one that someone might start out on versus, something like your Shapeoko or my Onefinity or things like that. So,
yeah, because a lot of guys are like, I had a comment today, which I thought was kind of ironic because whoever it was didn't do their homework, but they're like, oh, that's kind of ironic that you're doing a American flag on a machine from China, which incidentally, the Shapeoko technically is like one of the only hobby grade CNCs that's made in the United States. CNC Labs and Onefinity both are assembled, made, whatever you want to call it. The companies that sell them are based out of Canada. So, which I also thought was ironic that I'm pretty sure the guy was on a mobile device when he sent that. And so I don't know of very many mobile devices that aren't made in China. So it's kind of like, why is that even that can't even be an argument today, because there's very few things. You could take an automobile that is an American automobile, and if you took every component of that car, it's probably manufactured in 10 different countries by the time you take all those different components and put them together. But some people just, want to try to stir the pot. It's like It's like, dude, at this point, it's like made on planet Earth. I mean, because there's very few things that aren't made up of components that come from different countries.
Yeah, it's a global economy, and we gotta do right, support our neighbors and whatnot, like locally, our communities and such. But it's near impossible. I mean, case in point, I don't know if people follow Smarter Every Day. Destin does a really good channel there around all sorts of like engineering, science. He actually was in training to try to become an astronaut at one point, but real smart guy, actually out of the Huntsville area down by you. And he wanted to try to actually make something 100% in the US, source the materials, source all the manufacturing. And he came up with this smarter scrubber. So it's a really nice grill scrubber, chainmail scrubbing pad, so you don't have the wires and all that. Rolled steel handle and such, injection molded top here. This actually screws off. You can use it just for scrubbing, cast iron by hand. Point being, he worked for 2 years to try to make this 100% manufactured materials, everything sourced in the U.S. He got really close, but the chainmail he couldn't guarantee. As much as he tried to source it locally, it eventually was. They were still sourcing sometimes the straight up the chainmail and whatnot from places like India, which was actually just importing it from China. And so it was a good practice, but he said it is dang near impossible to get something 100% made in one country. Pick your country. Everybody.
Yeah. I've got some lumber in here that's American made.
Yeah, but was everything did everything that was used to process it though?
Well, I'm sure probably not.
Yeah,
the Wood Miser sawmill is mostly made in the United States. I think their headquarters is in Indiana, but I'm sure some of the components and stuff used for that. It's a Kohler engine, so there you go. Yeah. But yeah, it's there's to me, like you said, you do what you can. You try to support where you can, but there are companies. I mean, there's some things that they don't make it here. Period. We either don't have the resources or it's just so expensive here to do it that they don't do it here. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I've been having I've had some really good traction on some of my content. I've done really well. I broke 45,000 subscribers today. But with that growth comes it's kind of like tilling your garden. The more you till it, it's like the more rocks you uncover. The more things you find, and that's the way it is with growing a YouTube channel. The more you grow it, the more trolls you uncover, knock out of the ground, wake up, whatever. And so I've had several past couple of days. It's been a mess. And folks, what was it? The one guy was talking about my alligator, talking about artificial woodworking. I'm like, unless you're using your fingernails and your teeth, you're using a tool of some kind. So I don't want to hear it. But yeah, it's been a week. But you know what I mean. But like I said, the more trolls you get, the more trolls you see, generally means you're growing. You're doing something right. So.
Well, it means you're gaining exposure outside your normal circle for sure.
Oh yeah.
But that goes back to the question, advice for starting a YouTube channel, like grow a thick skin.
Yeah, just get ready for that. Jerry, the stuff for the meet and greet, those items are going to be pickup only. So that's going to be associated with the meet and greet. Within the next couple of days, I'll start throwing out some little sign-up forms for people to register before the event. And the reason I want people to register before the actual meet and greet the day of is because these are things that I want my audience to have. You know what I mean? I want folks that have watched me to be able to win these things. I did something similar to this before, to where I took a machine to a meet and greet and did a drawing at the meet and greet. Well, what ended up happening is the person who won it didn't even know what a laser was. Like, they didn't know what a laser engraver was and won it. And I'm not against that, but that wasn't what I wanted to happen with the machine. I wanted to basically pass on a blessing that I got by way of having the channel and doing what I do. I wanted to pass it on to somebody that either couldn't get that machine or would just make things easier for them to get it, or add a machine that otherwise they might not have had. That was my goal. That is always my goal, is to help other people who, because I am very blessed that when I started doing this, I bought my machines, and then as things have evolved, it's got to the point to where, like lasers and stuff, a lot of the stuff I don't have to buy anymore. Now there are things, big CNCs like that guy over there, that I save my money up and I purchase. But I love to be able to hand these machines down to other people. That's why there's so many makers in my community that make things and sell things here locally around me, that I provide them with their machines. People are like, oh yeah, I saw so-and-so the other day at the store, and man, he's doing laser stuff. He's selling laser stuff. Man, he's competing with you. He's trying to cut your throat. And I'm like, no, he's not. I gave him the machine and told him to do it, because I enjoy that. Because literally here locally, there's only like 2 or 3 people that I can sit down and talk laser stuff with or CNC stuff with. There's only a handful of people. And so, this community that we have here locally is not very big, and I know all of them. And if it's a job that they can't handle or it's too complex, it's going to end up coming to me anyway. So if I want it. Now, typically I divert most jobs to other people because I have my regular customers that keep me plenty busy. I mean, you can see over there, the past 2 days, I have been building those. So yeah, but I enjoy regifting some of this stuff. We can't always do that. And I know me and Steve share thoughts on this. A lot of times the boxing and the material is just too much to keep up with for that period of time, where you've got to show the machine, test the machine, demo the machine, work with the company. And then by the time you get to the point to where you can get rid of the machine, you don't have the box no more because it was in your right way, taking up space, getting beat up, whatever. But a lot of times, if it's small machines with small packaging, I can stick that away in a corner somewhere. And that's the ones that end up being giveaway, and shipped out to people. Some of these machines are really heavy. Once you put them together, it's a pain to take them back apart and put them back in the little bags, and put them back in the box. And then you got to pay to ship them out. Those are the ones that I usually end up being basically pick up only. And those are going to be the ones that are going to be going to the meet and greet, are going to be some of my pickup only machines that I can't take apart and put back together and put them in a box. So, but I do have coming up soon, I do have some more machines that we'll be doing some stuff with. And now that I'm full-time here in the shop, like I said, the dynamic has changed a lot for me here. So we'll see how things go. I do have some new machines coming in that I'm going to be working with. I know Steve and I both have been negotiating with multiple companies, have said that they want to participate with us on our Christmas giveaway. And I don't know if y'all are familiar, but we do we give away all kinds of stuff around Christmas, and we're partnering with several companies that are going to have things that you guys are going to be interested in. And we're waiting to finalize that list, and we'll start advertising. Hopefully probably the first week of November, we'll start letting you guys know what's coming, what to expect. There was some holidays and stuff like that that's kind of interfered with us getting everything finalized. So we're working on that. But yeah, it's going to be fun times. What's up, Mr. Cody? I'm waiting on my package. I got my shipping notification. But that's Jerry. Just keep an eye out from my Facebook page and also my YouTube. I do like a short or something, letting you guys know when I get the list up for the meet and greet. But these are going to be things that are going to be limited to pick up only at the meet and greet, that are going to be coming up this week. You're going to have to be at the meet and greet the day of to take that thing home with you. And if you registered to pick it up and you're not there, then whoever's still standing there when I get ready to leave will probably take it with them. So there you go. That's the only fair way I know of doing it, because these are things that I cannot ship out, or I won't say cannot. I can't economically just ship out. Let's put it that way.
Well, the question is, what's fun to do in Clanton on a Thursday night?
If you're going to be in town on Thursday night, if you're going to be in town on Thursday night, shoot me an email. I was going to try to get up with you guys, and I'm going to do a live or a video or something this week. But if you're going to be in town before the day of the event, shoot me an email and let me know. There may be, like I said, we can go somewhere and sit, and hang out, talk shop or whatever. Because I don't have a job anymore. So as long as I get back home in time to get up the next morning and be at the meet and greet, I'm good. So there are some places that we could go sit down and shoot the breeze, talk shop, hang out. It's not a whole lot to do around here other than that. But I might could arrange something. So if you're gonna be here early, shoot me an email. Give me a way to get in contact with you this week, and we'll figure something out. Especially if there's enough of us, we can go hang out somewhere. There are some places. My wife still got to work. My kids still got school, so I might not be able to do it here. But
oh, we got a question from Jeff Stone. Is thinking about a 3D printer. Any thoughts on the Cobra 3 V2 or any other entry level that are easy to learn? I don't have experience with that one explicitly. I was just looking up. Looks like it looks very similar to the Bamboo A1. So it's a kind of a bed slinger style. I was just trying to see what they use for their recommended slicer. The nice thing with Bamboo is the slicer is really built for it. They have, it's tied to their Maker World kind of user built catalog of material or of models, and then the kind of the filament settings that they used for it and such. A lot of 3D printers have come a long way, and the slicers have as well, that make them fairly easy to use. Another one that is very similar to the Bamboo and that one is the FlashForge 85X that I just did a video on a week ago. That does have the multi-filament system on it, and right now it's actually on sale at Amazon for $360. So I'll drop a link to that if people want to check that out. That one's a really good printer for beginners. It uses almost the identical slicer to Bamboo Labs and such. They just kind of put their own skin on that Orca slicer and such. Pretty much if you use their settings, it works kind of out of the box as well. Gives you the multi-filament as well for an expensive price. Then they do have some upgrade kits for it as well. So so basically the two beginner ones that I have experience with right now that I could say, yeah, you could get up and running with this, first choice would be the Bamboo series. Second one being that FlashForge 85X.
Yeah, I've had an Ender 3 3D printer, which was it worked. I had fun with it. I learned a lot with it, but I spent a lot of time working on it, adjusting it, calibrating it, and all that. And of course, the Bamboo. The Bamboo, I have one situation because of bed adhesion, but other than that, it's worked well. I love it. So I would highly recommend looking at Bamboo if you can work it in. Even if you get the mini, I think it's like the cheapest one on the market right now.
Yeah, it's about $100 less than the A1.
Yeah.
Takes less space, but
if you're doing smaller things.
Mm-hmm. I will say, because someone asked me this recently, is my opinion on a few of these. I do have the A1 mini. I bought that one and then was able to get Bamboo to send me I bought the A1 mini. They sent me the A1 for comparison and such. They both print the same quality. They use the same AMS. I believe in future firmware, at least the A1 is going to be compatible with the AMS, the regular AMS and or the Pro. So you won't necessarily have to use the Lite with the open frame. But the mini, just to its size and how fast it's trying to sling things around, it has a little more tendency to want to maybe walk itself away. So The A1s just weight and heft make it a little more stable.
Cool. Soldier Farm says, I'm a full-time substitute teacher. There are very few people in my line of work that do this kind of stuff. Cricket ladies, but most of the guys are into video games. There's a few teachers in our area that piddle with this stuff, but yeah, it's addictive once you get into it. But I know there's a lot of folks that don't necessarily have the space to dedicate to doing it. You know what I mean? That's one thing that I think limits a lot of people is where do you do it at? Because a lot of folks, especially with the housing market like it is, maybe their house isn't quite big enough with the kids that they've got or whatever, so they don't really have a room to dedicate to it. And I think that holds a lot of people back. So, and like where I live here, there's really not a maker space or anything that you could go to. So if you can't make it at home, you're out of luck.
Yeah, that's the nice thing is if your community does have one of those, depending on the different levels they have, because sometimes it's worth it to be a member, even at like a basic level, just to be able to kind of network and hang out with other creative types. But if they don't have, like for ours here in town for a while, the membership rate to me was it was too much when I was looking at their stuff going, yeah, but I have my own tools that in some cases are better than what they have down there. And so I'm like, I don't want to buy in to so much access to the tools, but anytime you can surround yourself with, people that are creative, people that are maybe smarter than you on things, it's just going to help you out.
Yeah. I met a lady the other day that does, like, she sells different things and she works with different people making stuff. And she, I knew she ran the business. I knew what kind of stuff she done, but I didn't know that she didn't actually have a laser. Like she run her business out of a makerspace.
Mm-hmm.
And she was saying to me that, she didn't have the tools to do it at home and that it was kind of a pain because she was having to spend hours at this makerspace and she had to wait till her husband, could watch the kids and I'm thinking, oh my goodness. So there's a lot of times that you don't realize that people do use those spaces to run a business in essence. And I don't know if that was actually something she was supposed to be doing with that space, but I don't guess they care what you do there as long as you pay your dues and stuff. But yeah, that I would really, and if in some of my travels, if I ever get a chance to actually take time off and do some traveling, I want to like pop in and see some of these places and see what kind of stuff they offer. Because that is something that I would love to be able to like partner with some local businesses or something and bring something like that to our community here where I live. I think that would be really cool, especially for the younger generation that, because a lot of kids aren't necessarily college minded kids. They don't want to go to college. They want to learn like hands-on stuff or some kind of special skills or whatever. And I think that, that would be a good place for those kids to be. I've already donated some machines and stuff to our local STEM program where they do, 3D printing, lasers and CNCs and stuff like that. But I would really like it if they had a place that they could go like during the summer when school is out and actually do these things. That I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I enjoy working at the community and technical college. Our roots were built up out of trade school and such. It was only in the past 20 years or so that we took on more of the general ed kind of prep school for people that can't jump to university right away. But yeah, we've got, the welding, the automotive, the ag mechanics, the computer integrated machining, all that stuff. And so it's cool to see them all kind of learning that trade. And it's everything from, a few week starter program just to kind of get your experience and certificates to diplomas all the way up to, 2-year degrees with the college. So it'd be hard for me to leave there just with my education background and liking to promote that. I think I'd be frustrated working at an actual 4-year university.
Yeah. Brian, it's at a Jefferson State Community College. It's at a venue that May has graciously allowed us to use part of the building that she has rented, and that's where we'll be doing it at. Dun, 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 dun. All right. Monk says, how do you finish your wood? I see things online like flags with beautiful, glossy, smooth finishes. How do you do that? How do they do that? And it would depend heavily on what kind of object you're talking about. Now, I will show you one that I've been working on this week that I got it really smooth. What up, Fluffy? Now, I could go back and walk this on down. It's got a little dusty. I could go back and walk this on down a little more. Right now, I've walked it down to 600 grit. Not the alligator itself, because I didn't want to mess up the scales, because you can actually see the scale and its scales and stuff on the gator. But I've walked this down, I think, to 600. And I just used rattle can, quick drying polyurethane. When I first got it off the CNC, I did soak it down with some wipe on, just to make sure I got a good thick coat down in the scales of the gator and everything. But I've walked this part down to 600, and this wood's got a little bit of checking right here, but I didn't want to throw it away. But but I've walked it down to like 600. I started out, of course, when it first came off the CNC, I started out with 220. Then I went down to, I want to say it was 3 something. And then the last time I went over it with, after I sprayed it a couple of times, I went over it with some 600. And then I went back over it again with some spray poly, because I was trying to get the outer edges to where it looked like water. That was the goal. So, but yeah. Lots of sanding, and especially with this, it was a lot of hand sanding. And spray it, go back, hand sand it, spray it, go back, hand sand it, spray it, go back. It took a little while, but I think it turned out really nice. So
it really depends on. You do have to do a lot of prep. The finish is going to be based on your prep of getting it sanded down first, but it then also depends on the type of finish you're using. So like polyurethanes and such, they definitely want a higher grit. But certain oil-based finishes, you can actually oversand and you almost burnish the wood to where it's not going to absorb the finish so much. And so you do have to pay attention to the type of finish you're using. But a spray-on poly is about the easiest way to get a very consistent finish on most materials. But you do get that kind of built up layered, and some people don't like it because it adds almost that kind of too glossy, almost plastic cover look. Whereas an oil finish isn't going to be as shiny necessarily, but it'll give more kind of a little more of a natural feel and look to the surface of the wood. But you're also going to sacrifice maybe some durability.
Yeah, see, I think I used polyacrylic on this one. I think this was like 3 coats of polyacrylic. So it's not quite as like I didn't sand this one as intently. I think I just walked this down with some 220, hand sanded it, but that's just like 2 or 3 coats of polyacrylic. What I'll typically do is the first coat, after I do the first coat, I'll just go over it and lightly hand sand it again, because sometimes you'll get kind of a water pop from your finish and you'll get like little rough spots. And if you, depending on what look you're going for, sometimes you might not want to do that. But I like to go back with a little bit of hand sand and then just scuff it up a little bit, smooth it out again, and then spray it a couple more times. So it depends on how glassy you want it and how much time you want to spend. I hate brush on poly because it never fails unless you buy the really good brushes. I always wind up finding a bristle off of the brush in the freaking poly somewhere. Like it never fails. And when you're doing little small stuff like this, it's just a pain to deal with brushes, because you got to clean the brush out. And if you use expensive brushes, you got to clean it out really good and store it, put it up, seal it up, and all that good stuff. Whereas if you use a spray can, you literally spray it, and then sometimes I'll purge the tip, like flip the spray bottle upside down and purge it just to make sure it doesn't stop the tip up. But other than that, the cans are just really forgiving when it comes to doing small stuff like this, because you can just spray it and walk away. And you're not sitting out there for 20 minutes dealing with brushes for a small project.
Yeah, I prefer the middle ground of wipe on poly. It's thinner and sometimes requires more coats, but you apply it with like just some cotton
Rag.
rags and such, and you don't. It takes more coats, but they generally will dry faster, and you know you don't have the brush marks or the stray hairs and such, and you don't have the overspray of the spray on stuff. But it's a little bit, you got to figure out what works well for you, because
Yeah.
it's one of those multiple ways to do the same thing.
Yeah, and see, this is just spray poly, or not spray poly. This is polyacrylic, but I used it over the top of acrylic paint and spray paint. So you also have to make sure what you're putting finishes onto above, over. Are you going to be engraving it? Or are you going to be,
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of things to consider. But my two main go-tos are going to be rattle can, spray poly, polyurethane, and polyacrylic. Those two are my two things.
So here's one for you, because you've done this more directly. Richard's asking, how would I set the y-axis when doing a tumbler using the Atom Stack R1 Chuck Rotary and Ohmtech Polar Plus to not get the overscan error?
Overscan error. You got to set the using the Polar Plus. You're going to have to set the origin. I set the origin and do mine with current position, and because I can't remember all the details, but I know what you're talking about. If you're not careful, because of it having to home out, it's weird because it's like the controller was set up to have the third axis, but it doesn't. They have that switch, so it's actually only using the X and the Y and not the A axis as well. And so what I do is I take the machine, I set my design up using current position, and usually I will do, far left side, far right side of the tumbler, whichever. Usually the way I've got mine oriented, usually it's going to be the left side. And I'll set that up, current position in Lightburn, create the file, and then send it over. And I'll use the controller on the machine to set the origin to be like the very top edge of the colored part of my tumbler, and then send it that way. I've got a video that I did on doing tumblers with it. Pretty sure I went over that in the video. If I didn't, I'll try to get another one out, but I'm pretty sure I did.
All right, let's see here. Lightspeed Laser Engraving says the local population in my area is over 500,000 people, and I can't find even one makerspace. I don't need one, but it sure would have been nice to have a couple of years back. Yeah, I find you can have a major metropolitan area that doesn't have one, and then you'll have, just this small community with a group of people that organize one. It really just takes a few people willing to kind of organize it, and maybe they are able to get some sort of sponsorship or someone who wants to donate, just even some basic tools to get started. But it's one of those things that a lot of them are driven by volunteers, and also, getting the backing of whether they can find grants or, maybe some sort of commercial sponsorship kind of thing. They're not necessarily cheap to run, both in the matter of having the funds as well as the people to run them. As any organization that's run on volunteers knows, it's usually 10% of the people doing a lot of the work, and over time they get burned out. So it's sad when they're not available in larger areas, but hopefully more and more they start showing up places.
Let me get my Lightburn open. I think I saved the last tumbler project that I did. If I can find it.
So Ordinary Woodworkers asking me, watched your video earlier on the 70-watt diode laser and the Kitty project, and wondering how much does the 70-watt laser cost and what brand is it? So that one was the IKEA K70 Pro Max, or no, K70 Max. I'll drop a link out there for that. Right now it's about $1,800 for this one, and it is a very, it takes up. You're going to need like a minimum, like a 4 foot by 4 foot surface to put this thing on, so it's a little hefty. I think Atom Stack still has their smaller size 70 watt, and IKEA might also have a smaller version of that as well. They all like to come out with these Max series that they push it in, a big square. It's always got to be a big square instead of, wide rectangle and maybe not so deep. That's kind of my big thing on, when we looked at the Glacier from Atom Stack and this one. Yes, it's a really nice laser. It works very well. But by the time you put it in an enclosure and you're trying to reach that back side, I just don't know. And you can't really realistically leave them open frame. I had my garage door open and the entry door open, and there was a nice breeze through. But then my neighbors, they come out by their garage, they're risking getting some flashing of UV light. So it's even having it out in the open, there's still some risk with it. So you really got to enclose it, and then that size, I think, is just unfortunate that they have to be that big square size.
Yeah, I think me and you both messaged a company this week and told them that your machine is just too big for us to use. Consider doing it smaller.
Yeah.
As I know, we both had an invitation to check out another machine that was massive. I've actually had two of them that I had to ask them, do you have a smaller size? Here's the file I set up for a tumbler the other day. And as you can see, I've got it set up current position. And with this one, because it was more or less a wrap, this part actually connects like this and this, like stop and start right there beside each other on the tumbler. It's a full wrap, but it's not like a continual shape. This is a tumbler I did for my daughter the other day in one of the videos. And you can see I set it for current position, or user origin, current position, whichever you want to call it. You can do current position or user origin, but you have to basically, when you put the tumbler up there, you would want to figure out, like, basically use the keyboard on the machine when you send the file over and set the origin in the middle of the tumbler, and then frame it a couple of times, make sure it's where you want it, and then send it. One cheat that you can use if you don't have a practice tumbler is wrap it a couple of wraps of painter's tape, and then just kind of lightly mark it. But you may want to make sure you got proper settings for your painter's tape. But yeah, typically I'm going to do my tumblers in current position. To me, it makes alignment so much easier than trying to do absolute. That's the only time I will come out of absolute is for rotary work. So there you go.
Yep. Very true. Very true. Jerry says, very cool hat, Steve. Yeah, I'm glad you noticed. I got influenced. I was browsing, I don't remember what, but it came actually from Atari. They are still in existence. And so I had to buy one of their hats. I had one as a kid. The funny thing is, yesterday, I believe, was the 40th anniversary of the Nintendo Entertainment System being launched. So if you didn't feel old and that was a entertainment system of your youth, you're welcome. Little geek humor there for you.
Yep.
Had Enough Okay is asking, what kind of lube are you guys using for CNC screw and rails? My Sane Smart 4040 Pro squeals periodically. Well, for the Onefinity, they actually, for the screws, they have a small little well in them, and they want you to use just light machine oil. Now, on more of the exposed rails, that might not be the best, because while it might lubricate it, it's also going to attract more dust and debris. The screws on most machines should have some sort of kind of wiper that keeps them clean and not going into the actual Acme nut and such. But What's your recommendation on like smaller machines?
I have been using, and I'm gonna be honest with you, this is something that I am currently trying to figure out what I prefer, because I, between the lasers and the CNCs and everything, typically with the lasers and like with the 4040, this is kind of my go-to for most everything.
Yeah.
And this is what I've been using on even my Shipoko for the past year and a half, 2 years. This is what I've been using. Now, the only thing that I'm not crazy about with the Shipoko is it like this just seems like it goes away quick with the dust and stuff. So I have been experimenting with some different greases and different application techniques and where I put it and this, that, and the other. And I can't find anybody telling me that there's anything wrong with what I'm doing, but I'm not necessarily doing it the way that everybody tells you to do it. If you go to Shipoko's website, they tell you to use a particular oil, and they have some kind of lube that they want you to use, which is I'm sure it's similar to this stuff right here. But this stuff, as far as I know, is not going to damage any of the plastics or anything like that, because I've been using this on X-Tool D1s. I've used it on the Rolly. I've used it on S1s. I've used it on the Atom Stacks countless times. This is what's on my own tech right now. I mean, this stuff is what I use on every machine in the shop. But with the bigger CNCs, first of all, it takes a lot of the oil, and it seems like if you oil it and then run the machine and you do a long 3D carve or something, that dust accumulates to the point to where it cleans the oil off of it. So I've started using a little bit of grease, and I tried just wiping the grease on. I've tried, because like a lot of the linear rails, they have a little lubrication screw in the, like where the screws are, hold it together. There's one little screw that's more or less just a plug that you can actually remove that screw. And like on Shipoko's website, you remove that screw and you put like 3 drops of oil inside the bearing for the linear rails and stuff like that. Well, I've been using this grease, and I've got myself basically like a big hypodermic needle that I'm putting grease in there and trying different greases and stuff. I don't know. It seems to be working. I don't know that it's good, bad, or indifferent, but it's not necessarily the way that I've seen everybody else doing it. So I don't know. Like I said, I'm no expert on that, but I do know that, lubrication is lubrication for the most part. It's going to collect dust. It's going to get gooey. The one thing that I don't want is I don't want nothing like what me and you've been dealing with on other machines to where it gets sticky. That's what I don't want. You don't want it to be sticky with any of these drive systems. I have learned that from Atom Stack. Sticky is bad, especially when you're putting it on gears. So safe bet, this stuff works. That's it. I've been running this for 2 years. It works. Experimental, I'm trying some other stuff, but it's still too early for me to call it. So I would recommend just stick with this. The one thing that I will say, though, if you're oiling your machine, don't do it while you've got your good material up there, because there are chances that it's going to build up and drip and stuff like that. So if you oil your machine, oil it, wipe down any excess, maybe run it a little bit, move it around a little bit to make sure nothing drips before you go to putting expensive materials up there that could get, oil dripped on it. But let me show you my little stuff I got rigged up over here.
I think the most of them that you're seeing with like the lasers and the benchtop CNCs when they include it is just basically a silicone grease, which is okay. You want to make sure it's not too sticky. Like you say, it's going to attract dust and dirt. Light machine oil will work, but it will, like you say, it'll run a little bit, and it'll kind of basically wear off faster.
Yeah. So this is my big hypodermic needle that I've been using to administer grease into places that you can't get it without, like you can't wipe it onto places. And it's with this little grease gun with the needle. and it's so far I don't have anything bad to say about it, but I haven't been running it but 2 or 3 weeks now, so I can't say anything good about it necessarily either. So far, it's worked, but this is a little thicker viscosity grease than what I wanted, but it's not bad. This is more like marine grade grease than it is like heavy machinery or tractor or whatever. So it's not necessarily made for like wheel bearings and stuff like that. This is more of a low temperature, just lubrication, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it works. So far, it's working great. My machine runs smooth. Haven't had any problems, but it's only been 2 or 3 weeks.
Tranquil Mentor is commenting, I just made a trivet out of white oak and I'm not sure what to use for finishing. I was thinking of liquid butcher's wax, but if there's something better that would be safe for the heat.
Mineral oil.
Yeah, I was gonna say things like that I usually will just kind of soak in some mineral oil or like a butcher block oil that might have a bit of wax in it. Should be okay unless you're putting like straight from the fire cast iron on it. It might still darken it. I don't think it's going to be it's not going to meet its flash point by any means.
Yeah, I mean, mineral oil would probably be the safest thing to have around food that's going to be not really, really flammable. Little known fact, beeswax is highly flammable. So if you use some of the beeswax based stuff, I think the beeswax, the flammability of beeswax is probably far greater than mineral oil is. So yeah.
Rob Fight's asking on my Rolly, when I try to move the laser using the arrows on the move tab, I get error 22. Feed rate has not been set or is undefined. I think I've checked every place where you can put in speed.
It's only be on the move tab. Is where you the frame and speed. Yeah. I don't have Lightburn pulled up anymore, do you?
See if I can get it here.
But that's typically always in there.
It's not gonna work.
It's dark there. Biscuit, what do you want?
Yeah, you can set it on the move tab. The other thing, are you in like absolute coordinates and have you homed the machine first? That can sometimes create an issue as well.
All right, this dog is going to enter this room. If any of y'all ever watched Seinfeld, just visualize the character Kramer when I open this door. Come on, you coming in?
I think you heard you.
Yeah, he tried to take it easy. He usually runs in the door and like stops real fast. But yeah, I think the cats were messing with him too. Oh man.
So what are your thoughts on that one other than,
I mean, the obvious one is you're going to have to check right here. Is your speed up there? I wonder if I can, hang on, let me turn the laser on. I'll see if I can replicate the problem. Now, this is not the current version of Lightburn. I've been skipping an update. We'll go to the A70. All right, make sure it's connected. Yep, it's homing. All right, give it a second. Well, I'm assuming you're using a recent version of Lightburn because this isn't, like I said, this isn't 100% up to date. It's like last year's or last week's model. So if I put 0 here, let's see what happens. Let's see if I get that error. No, actually it moves. Okay, so it's not going to be that one. He said he hit some arrows. Hits the arrows, it gives an error. The only other thing that I could think of would be in the controller. And so that would be in here in machine settings, which should not have been changed unless you've been in here messing around with them. Because in here you do have, like, see, what's that? Steps per millimeter. The rate, like right here, there's the X rate. Is it on both axes, the X and the Y, or is it just on one? If that's the case, if you're not getting either one, I would be kind of curious to see what the settings are, because you got there's your rate of movement. Let's see, that's the X. So let's change that to see. Well, hang on, let me take a picture of that, because I don't want to have to just completely restore my controller. All right, that way I know what it is. All right, I'm gonna set this as 0. Write it to the controller. All right, that's on the X axis. So let me see what happens when I move the X. Oh, I didn't get an error, but it's causing something weird. Okay. So, yeah, I don't know how you're getting that error. I did not get the error. It did make my stepper do some weird stuff over there. So we need to go back and fix that. But I'm not sure. That's the only places that I know of to where there should be a designation for speed, and that was set to 25,000. Because this one's weird, because this one, like, one axis is different than the other, because one side's got the little I mean, it's just crazy. See, like the Y is actually set to 20. All right, so now I should be good. Oh yeah, good to go. Good to go. Acting like it's supposed to. Now it was kind of humming a minute ago, like it wouldn't want to do anything. So I don't know. I can't replicate that error, so I'm not sure what would be causing that.
Yeah, some of the stuff online is people are having that pop up in the middle of their job, and the recommendation there is that it's a suboptimal USB connection. One note from Gil was asking if G-code cluster was enabled under edit and device settings.
I mean, I guess it could be a communications problem. Maybe check your baud rate, make sure your baud rate is still good.
Yeah, maybe try creating a new device and having it redetect the machine.
Which Rolly is it, by the way? And which version of Lightburn? I don't know if I saw that or not. Let me scroll down to the bottom where I see the comments. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. I have absolute coordinates set, and it will hit home. Who asked the question? Rob? I have absolute coordinates set, and it will home when I hit the home button. Yeah, on home it's supposed to hit and under absolute. It should home regardless. But yeah, absolute coordinates home. It has to know where home is to operate properly. Okay, so check the latest version. I haven't downloaded that version yet, so maybe it could be a bug. I am still running version 2.0.03 because I let everybody else beta test. I give it a week or two before I download, unless there's something I need. Because right now my Lightburn is working exactly the way I need it to, so I do not feel compelled to update it. If there was a tool that I just had to have or something, then maybe I would. But I do the whole approach of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And currently, mine's working great. And I've got all the tools. As far as I know, they didn't add any tools to it. So I'm leaving it alone for now. Cody says, what? That's what they're using. I don't know which one, who you're talking to. In the defense industry. Yeah, Cody might can tell you what the best grease or lubrication would be. All right, there's your
apparently Rich, Louisiana hobby guy, did a video just a couple of days ago on
what?
light burn connection issues. So that might be one to check. That Three Rusty Nails mentioned that as well. So maybe check out his video on the light burn connection issues. It might have some information in there as well. I haven't viewed it yet, so I can't tell you exactly what's in there, but he might have some good information on that.
Rob saying it's on both axes. Yeah, try removing the machine completely and re-adding it, Rob. See if maybe there's a setting that's got messed up in there somewhere. That would be probably before I beat my head against it too much. I would probably remove the machine completely from Lightburn and re-add it and see if that helps.
I know he's already answered in the
comments. Oh, wait a minute.
Rich is asking STL Woodworking if he's fully in the shop yet.
Kevin Hallbacker says he just set his to 0 on the speed setting in the move tab and got the same message. So check that setting that I showed you, but apparently that may be something in the new update. Or hell, it could be something it could just be the fact that it's a different controller, maybe. I don't know. That shouldn't. Still G-code. Yeah. I don't know. Like I said, check those two places or check especially on the move tab. So, and see what happens there. I need to change mine back. I've still got it set to 0 on mine. Mine worked fine with it. Like I said, it could be something to do with the fact that the Atom Stack has the offline controller too. I didn't think about that because it might not have changed the speed. All right. Mark saying agreed with lithium grease. Lasts forever. Yeah, I've used lithium grease on lots of different things. All right, it's got awful quiet. I'm looking through comments and I'm not seeing anything other than this one here. I thought would be a good one. You've got more experience in the new XCS studio than I have currently. So what are your thoughts? Because I've been in there a couple of times, but basically just to check a couple of things. I haven't used it to design a project or anything.
The new X-Tool Studio, I don't know why they changed the name. It just feels like a new version of XCS. They move things around. I don't know why they insist on moving. Although Lightburn did that with, from 1.7 to 2.0, they moved some of the menu items. And maybe it makes more sense in some ways or not. But when you break workflow for people, it really should have a good reason rather than someone just happened to think this would work better for maybe one person. I don't know. I've been running version. I haven't updated to the latest 2.0.04, I think just came out. I haven't run into any issues, but I haven't been running them. I haven't been running on like any older X-Tool machines. I think a lot of people have had problems with Lightburn with that and the newer versions of Lightburn and X-Tool machines. Most of the machines I've been running, things have been fine, but I also have moved computers, so I wasn't exactly always upgrading. I was installing Lightburn and then re-importing the machine. So it could have been a multitude of those things that prevented me from having any issues with it. So, but yeah, I haven't tried. There's a couple of features within X-Tool Studio, like they have a box generator and there's like something else, like an earring generator or something like that. I haven't played with those to see, are they free tools? Do they work well? Do they have any features outside of the other things? And a lot of that is there's capabilities outside of it, but it's always nice when it gets integrated. But when it gets integrated at a cost, that's not always fun. But we'll see. I haven't done that much in-depth design in X-Tool Studio outside of that last Halloween sign I did about 3-4 weeks ago. But I haven't had issues come up with using them as some other people have noticed. So I can't really speak to stability issues. It just has worked for me.
Yeah, somebody was saying a while ago about the lithium grease. That's the type of grease that's in my little pump gun with the needle on it over there. Is a lithium based grease. That's what I'm using with that. So, well, like I said, but I don't want to go advertising that until I've run it for a little while. But that's what I'm running on mine currently because I've used it on other stuff before. We used to use it on things that had how would you call this, gas expansion driven lead projectiles. We used to use a lithium based grease on a lot of those, which some of that was more of a high temperature application, but it always worked pretty well. So I figured if it would work on those, then it should work on CNCs too. And I needed something that was affordable that I could apply easily and quickly. I saw a question in here somewhere.
Kevin's asking, how do you pulse the beam on the Reno to align the mirrors? The Reno Pro doesn't have like a pulse function or a pulse button. So within Lightburn, I made the smallest object possible, just like a very small little line that hardly moves, and set the power in there, and I just run that job. Unfortunately, that was kind of the workaround for it that I found. Because the fire button doesn't, I think it's grayed out in Lightburn for that model, so you can't use that. That would have been the other alternative. So I don't know if they've come up with any sort of fix for that, but I've just, you draw like
it didn't have one on the controller or anything.
No. So yeah, it's I think a little bit of an oversight on that one. So just draw yourself like a 0.1 millimeter line, set your speed really low and your power really low, and just work it up until you just get a little quick pulse. Kind of a ugly workaround, but it works.
Yeah, that would kind of suck. I mean, I guess technically you could set the speed at like 0.000 and like the power at like 25%, and it would work as long as you didn't have anything that would burn underneath it. Well, no, because it depends on the length of your line, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you're just getting that beam to just
a dot.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be long. It shouldn't be long. So, Tim says it found X-Tool Studio to be less intuitive, and they moved a lot of things behind AI paywalls and credits. Yeah, I would agree. I think, well, it's intuitiveness. It's interesting when you take someone that's completely new to a subject and you put them in front of a piece of software versus someone who's maybe used to something already. Which one is more intuitive? Because if you're used to a software, maybe you're coming from Lightburn going to X-Tool Studio, you're looking to see things where you'd expect it, versus someone who's just completely new, hasn't tried either one. Can they figure it out?
Yeah, I'm one of those that I'm biased, because if you get me too far from what I already know, I'm not going to like it. You know what I mean? Like you said, if it's somebody that's never touched a software, it may be simple to them, because it's, such a thing as, it's easier to teach somebody that's never done it before because they don't have bad habits. Yeah, I agree. Because I get irritated when things move, not because it's harder to find, but because I don't know where it's at. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, case in point, the first, when I fired up Easel again, I was messaging Clack going, what is up with this stupid software? I can't get it to work. And it was because I was trying to overthink the software.
Yeah.
That software is really meant for holding your hand and stepping you through stuff. And I was trying to set up things that it was basically saying, don't worry about it. We're going to take care of that later.
Yeah. You were on like step 10 and it was wanting you to do step 1.
Yeah. So that's something to keep in mind with some software is sometimes they've gotten a lot of feedback from complete newcomers and they say, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Whereas maybe the seasoned person who is expecting, Clippy to still be there and tell you what to do,
Okay.
it can kind of just skew that bit. But yeah, I did get a little frustrated, like, okay, where did this move to? That being said, Lightburn did the same thing. They moved some of the menus around, and I'm like, where did it go?
Yeah, they did that to me too. Rob said that the speed on the move tab was set to 0.
Awesome.
So my first guess was correct. We just had a little oversight, but I'm glad we got it. Glad we got you going. Good deal. Glad it wasn't anything too terrible.
Well, sometimes, I mean, that happens in tech support. We're starting to think of oh my gosh, something's obviously disconnected or fried or misplaced, and sometimes it's like, oh, is the machine on?
Well, it's like, have any of y'all ever watched the show Sling Blade? It ain't got no gauge in it. I mean, it's the simple things that'll get you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I do that sometimes just in my own troubleshooting and is overlooking it. That's one. Okay. So one thing, when I had my big cabinet CO2 laser, the e-stop button, and it's funny because I complain about it on a lot of machines. I'm like, I want that upfront, easy to hit.
Yeah,
well,
and then you hit it.
You're moving things around and you don't realize you maybe brushed up against it while you're doing stuff, and then you go to fire up the machine. You're like, why isn't it moving? What is going on? And then you just dummy. You gotta.
Yeah,
those things should flash when they're activated or something.
Yeah. Well, you see that bright orange piece that is over the top of my e-stop button on my CNC. I had the same thought. I was like, man, I need to put that button up here to where if something goes bad, I can just smash it.
Yeah.
And about the third time that I leaned over the front of my machine to look at the bit and see how it was cutting, and I hit that button, I 3D printed myself a cover for it to keep from doing that. So yeah, a mess. Don's asking, what do you guys think about the company X Laser Lab? Saw they were coming out with a UV laser. I know absolutely nothing about them other than
I think the only thing
I've seen.
I think the only thing I've seen from them, didn't they made one of those laser welder things?
Maybe.
I don't know.
Was that X Laser Lab or was it? Yeah, I think now that you mentioned it, I think it was either that or one of those rust remover ones.
Well, yeah, I mean, they all kind of do that. Those, yeah, that's the only thing I know of them for.
Yeah. Had enough. Okay. It depending on where people are when they're chatting. There's right down there, right below Steve's shoulder, is the only place that the chat will be shown. Like all the chat should show up there from the various channels or pages. Because like depending on whether you're on my channel or Steve's channel, if you comment on YouTube itself, you may not see all the comments on YouTube because YouTube doesn't. I wish it did, but YouTube doesn't allow us the way that we do the stream to like share the live feed. So you have to watch it on the screen right there. And so that's just the way we have to do it. If it's just me or just Steve in a live, then all the comments will be on YouTube, will be in that live panel. But when it's the two of us together, the way that we have to kind of combine the channels through the software, the only place that you can see all of the chat is going to be in that bottom. If you're looking at it, it's going to be in the bottom right corner of the screen. And it's very small. So if you're on a phone, I'm sorry, it won't let us make it any bigger. We have tried. That's as big as the comments will get. Maybe eventually they'll make that a little bigger, but for now,
we're also pulling in Facebook as well.
Yes,
so those wouldn't be either one YouTube.
Facebook, X, Twitch, all those things, which most everybody's going to be on YouTube or Facebook.
Yeah, I stopped streaming to Twitch because all I got over there were the annoying
trolls.
Yeah, not even wow.
Yeah.
So it's just Facebook and YouTube for me. Cody, I hate it, but on certain jobs, I hate doing the plumbing myself.
Oh yeah, my bad. Kevin Rich is saying his 65 Pro has a pulse button.
Yeah, well, they've made some refinements to that. Even I think the new 45 Pro Vision or whatnot has some of those updates to it as well. So I don't know. That's one of the the downfalls of having an early version and reviewing it and saying, the things you should change.
Yeah.
They sometimes listen, and then you're stuck with the unchanged version.
Not bored. Like I said, during sometime this week, I'm going to get the machines out. I'm going to get a list of what all I'm going to be taking, and you guys will be able to put in for whichever one you may want, because I'm going to have some CNCs and some lasers. And I know not everybody has the want or the desire or the place for a CNC. And so I'm going to split them up to where basically whichever machine you think you want, you put your name in the hat for that drawing. And the only stipulation is going to be, in the event that you win multiples by some streak of luck, you get to pick one of them, and then the other ones go back in the drawing. That way we spread the love around a little bit. I don't want one person to win everything. Now, I don't think the chances of that are pretty slim, but as sure as we don't say it, it'll happen.
Right. MCT 1024 on the Xtool Studio versus Lightburn topic. I found a lot of convenience in making the complicated designs in Lightburn and just export those designs as SVGs, and that works well in Xtool Studio. And I'll be honest, there are a lot of times I don't even design a Lightburn. I'll design in a different, vector program or 3D modeling program and such, and then I will import the DXF or SVG into Lightburn, and then I'll export it out to Xtool Studio as well. So it's nice. It's nice to get some experience in different tools, because sometimes certain features and certain ones just don't work as well as the other. That's true of like image tracing tools. Sometimes you'll find one software traces a certain type of image better than others, or maybe the rounding effects or something in certain ones. I've had some programs where it won't. There's a minimum size of an arc, and if you're working in really small areas, you're going, but I need to round this off. And so you almost end up enlarging it by a certain scale, doing the arc, and then reducing. It's just, it's nice to have multiple softwares that you're comfortable with, because sometimes you just got to jump between the two. So
yeah,
that's why we'll try to save in different formats. And
yeah. STL says you should take turns hosting and use StreamYard. We use StreamYard. We started out with Restream, and then there were some tools in StreamYard that we wanted. Restream kept going up on the price to where StreamYard wasn't that much more expensive, and we wound up jumping ship over to StreamYard about, year and a half ago? Yeah, because I renewed it twice so far. So, yeah, about almost 2 years ago, year and a half or so, we swapped over to StreamYard. But we've used StreamYard or Restream ever since we've started doing this, and we are now at episode 150, which you do realize that was it 156 will be, is it 156 or 159? 52, 156 will be 3 years. Yeah, 3 years continuous. So 6 more weeks.
Well, that's going to be pretty close to the Christmas giveaway live.
It's going to be very close.
See, we're going to have to make a lot of people happy there, because the first one of the year could be very sketchy.
Yeah. Because that's going to be when we're in transit, like trying to get to Vegas.
Well, we'll be there. We both should be there, but who knows? We might be on our phones out on.
We're gonna be like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and my laptop's being dumb too, so I may have to upgrade a laptop before then, or just take an iPad and do the best we can with an iPad.
Well, I'm sure we'll have multiple devices and options. It's more of the bandwidth I'm concerned about, but we'll see.
Yep.
Chris is saying all e-stops should have LEDs that light up when they've been hit. Yeah, I agree. Now some of the limit switches, if you get the inductive ones, at least those light up, because that can be annoying too when you don't realize that maybe the limit switch has been triggered.
Yeah,
Or
on
which
small
one,
CNCs especially.
Yeah.
Some of these small CNCs, if you park it and you park it like on a limit switch, when you power it up, it won't home right. So you have to get it off that limit switch and then home it.
TJ Michael's asking, is a 2-inch exhaust system too small for an X1C?
3D printer?
Well, that has the laser module on it. Right?
The X1 Carbon, I didn't think did. I thought that was the.
Oh, you're right. That's the.
That other PS something, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't think if it's a 3D printer, I wouldn't think it'd require a whole lot because you just got a little bit of VOCs or whatever from some of the filaments, and some of the filaments not so much. Most of those just use that. I don't have a enclosed machine. I only print with like PETG at the most so far, but most of those just have a little scrubber carbon filter anyway. So I wouldn't think it would matter.
Yeah, it's the H2 series is the new one with the laser on it. Yeah, I don't. A lot of them. I guess if you're doing like ABS, the problem is they're also trying to maintain the heat. So usually it's more of an internal filter. So I guess you need a little more context on what you're looking at for that. But
yeah. Bummer says, "What's your favorite Chuck rotary? Are they still available? It looks like the Adam Stack R1 version 2, which gets good reviews. May not be available any longer." The Adam Stack R1 is the one that I like out of all the ones that I have. I like it the best as far as the Chuck by itself. That's what I'm using with my Polar Plus right now.
So the IKEA R1 is still on their site, which is the same thing.
Yeah.
I haven't looked at Adam Stack's site. I know what was the other one they came out with that you got.
Yeah, that was like that R2 or something. I didn't like it.
Yeah.
It came with the Hurricane. Klein's got it. I do not like that one. They took a step back with that Chuck.
Well, Adam Stack, so they've got the R1 V2. They got the R8.
Maybe
they do still list if they'd stop with the pop-ups. My number one complaint about websites: spin this to get a coupon. How can we help you? I would just like to see the page I was looking at. They do still list the R1 Pro set on their site, though. I don't know if you can get just the R1 without that comes with the rotary one as well. I don't know if they have that standalone one, but you can get the set that has the R1 Chuck and the roller rotary.
Yeah, the R1 version 2 is still there, and then the R1 Pro, it's got both. Yeah, it's $169 right now. That's the one that I like. Is the R1. Now, if you've got an extra $1,000 laying around, the Rotoboss makes a great one. But if your laser costs you $1,000, it's kind of heartbreaking to spend $1,000 on a rotary. Because I haven't. I'm gonna be honest with you. I've made thousands of dollars off of tumblers, and I could probably justify buying a Rotoboss, but I just can't make myself spend that much money on it when I've got the R1. That maybe it doesn't do as good a job, but it's made me a whole bunch of money for a lot less money. So I'm not knocking it, but that's a big expensive purchase. Like I said, good stuff. I've used one on my buddy's Thunder, but that's a hard mouth bite to take, just to do tumblers. And then you got the pie burn grip. That's a really good one if you got an extra $1,500 laying around. But therein lies to me, that is the issue that I have with them is it's just the price point. It's crazy. Like the Roto Boss Talon Pro right here. I mean, I like it. It's a good one. This is not the one that Tim has. They have a different one, but for the Roto Boss, you're looking at $1,150 depending. I mean, it's just hard. And it's hard for me to tell somebody this is the one you need to go get unless you're like seriously turning out tumblers every day. Which one is it? The Roto Boss. Which one is it? It's the one that ships with the Thunder. I think it looks like this one. Yeah, it looks a lot like this one. It ships with the Thunder laser, the Thunderbolt. I've used this one up at my buddy Tim's place. This is just a roller, but it works really good for tumblers because it has this little like piece right here that kind of puts pressure on them and keeps them from rocking and all that. It works really good, but it's $1,300. So that's the hard part to swallow is, yeah, it's good. It's kind of like a saw stop. I'd like to have one. Don't get me wrong. It's better than my DeWalt that I have, but I just can't make myself do it.
So as noted, it is listed as out of stock on Adam Stack's page, but I'm putting a link to the IKEA version of the R1 Pro. It does say add to cart. It doesn't say out of stock. So the only difference is it's kind of this light blue color.
Yeah.
But it's effectively the same thing. So it's a little bit more there though. It's $229. But yeah, if you're really seriously into tumblers, you're going to be doing a lot for the business, you might want to consider, Rotoboss options. But as far as just doing occasional stuff with your diode laser, these seem to be working the best. The old Ortur one was pretty nice. It wasn't quite as stout, but it worked well, and it came with adapters for most different lasers. I've actually given that out to my buddy who's turned it into a pool cue lathe rotary, which is kind of neat. So I need to go get video of that sometime. But
that's awesome. Yeah, Adam Stack is showing mostly that R8 is what they're selling now. So I'm guessing they're phasing that R1 out, which I don't understand. But they sometimes do stuff I don't understand because, yeah, mostly that R8 rotary is what's showing up everywhere. And maybe it's because people aren't buying as many of them as they used to. But
yeah.
Nope.
Mike Thompson's asking, what 3D printer software do you like the most? It's going to depend on if you're just talking about the slicer for importing models in, or actually, like modeling software, because some like the Bamboo Labs and Orca and what have basic modeling tools in them. But I like to make things outside of that in things like SketchUp, Fusion, or Tinkercad. But as far as printer software, if you're using a Bamboo printer, I like just using their straight Bamboo software. Some people like using the modded version of Orca, which you kind of have to do some workarounds with because Bamboo has been locking their stuff down more. But yeah, I guess it kind of a little depends on what you're looking at for that. I'll generally try what the manufacturer recommends first, and if I struggle with it, then I'll see what else is compatible with it.
Yeah. Lance is saying I ordered the Talon Pro with my Thunderbolt Plus. Prefer the Chuck, and I agree. I like Chucks better than I do rollers. But my buddy that runs the Thunder, it has the trophy shop. He had been running an Epilogue with a Epilogue rotary, which was very similar to the one that came with the Thunder. And so he was cool with it. He doesn't like doing tumblers anyway. He usually outsources those to me or Klein one. So it wasn't a big deal breaker for him. because it's not something tumblers and rotary stuff's not something that he does. I've even thought about trying to talk him into, since he doesn't use it to do, which he does a few tumblers, but I had thought about trying to talk him into letting me get it from him until he got kind of set up to where he'd done a few. But yeah, I like Chuck's better myself. MCT is asking, do the fume extractors work well when engraving tumblers on site at a show? I couldn't tell you about tumblers on site at a show because I don't do complicated stuff like that at shows. I just don't. I take orders. I'll do it Monday for you. But there's way too much stuff that could go wrong at a event for me to be engraving a tumbler. Some kid trip, bump into your table, whatever. The machines that I use for tumblers don't transport that well. And those are projects that take a long time. And like I said, me personally, I don't do tumblers at events. The fume extractors work temporarily, but that's about as good as I can tell you.
Yeah, I would say so. I've done the closest thing I've done to that has been like those anodized dog tags, and I've used the small F1, the X Tool F1 with the fume extractor, doing both the business cards and the dog tags. It definitely cuts it down quite a bit. I wouldn't say that you're not going to notice the smell at all.
About this guy?
Yeah. But it does definitely cut it down. So I think if you're doing it outside, you're probably okay. If you're doing it inside, it's I don't know. It's going to depend on the air circulation inside and whatnot. I did it once. It was at a convention center kind of space. They had a lot of air moving, and I purposely asked, I'm like, put me in a corner and preferably near a door, so that I could have some venting with that. And it worked okay. I didn't have any complaints, but I've been in some smaller spaces trying to run that setup, and I've definitely noticed it more. So it's going to depend on how much air volume and circulation you have for dissipating that, because it's not going to scrub it 100%. Radu is asking us about the relays to rewire the OhmTech 60 Air Assist. Asking if the wind connection is the hookup, and yes, that is the one on the controller you should be looking for. On the one I had, as I was looking at it, was in the lower, I think in the lower right, if I remember right. And yeah, Jason at S&J Custom Laser Engraving. I use Orca for both Bamboo A1 and Elgo Centauri Carbon. It's nice to have one slicer for both. Definitely, when you can use one software for multiple machines, it's nice, as long as you don't confuse profiles. I've had to make sure that I manage my filament profiles between a couple different printers and make sure they're labeled correctly, because sometimes they are slightly different even on the same type of filament. Sometimes the printers want a little bit different temperature and such. Sounds like Lance. I know I've been chatting with him a little bit. He's finally made a multicolor decision for a 3D printer. Just ordered an A1 combo. It'll complement the Elegoo well, and who knows when the US can order the P2S combo. Yeah, they announced the P2S, which has a lot of the features that we've been looking for on that one. A nice touch screen, the hot swap, the hot ends. They have a very nice upgraded camera, better air circulation and such in there. But no price and no time on the availability. So I'm curious to see how that'll end up. But you'll enjoy the A1 combo. That's a nice printer.
I just realized I only thought I was done with jobs for the week.
Oh.
Yep.
Chris's comment, the problem with buying a reliable product is you only buy once, and manufacturers don't like that. Sadly, that does kind of tend to be the case in some cases. Same thing with software. They got to keep you updating it. Gone are the days of the 30-year appliances and forever software.
Let's get to work.
Lance says, don't use a fume extractor outside, but inside use the AP2 from X Tool with the OG-F1. It works really well. Have done leather and acrylic, no noticeable smell. I have my AP2 hooked up to my S1 down in the basement shop. It works pretty well, but there are times when cutting certain materials and engraving, or more so cutting, not so much engraving, you get that heavier smoke and such that you can still smell it. Now, it could be the S1 isn't, they don't necessarily have the best airflow through it. And if you have the riser on it, sometimes some of that will leak out the front as well. So you got to make sure that those things are sealed, but that you still allow the air in to move through. But I do like the AP2. It's probably the best sub $1,000 and barely sub $1,000 fume extractor I've used. You just, if you're looking at fume extraction, expect to pay some money to have anything that works well and works for a long time. So it's takes a lot to scrub those VOCs and whatnot. What are you working during the live stream?
Yeah, I figured I'd show y'all this, guys. Yeah, I just realized, I just remembered that I had a message the other day, and it's one of those, you know how it seems like everybody wants to text you when you're on a ladder and you got like a nail gun or a screw gun or something in your hand. Well, it was one of those texts, and I just realized it, and I got to have this tomorrow. So I figured, what the heck? So yeah, this is it's a couple of name tags, actually. That's what it is. But what I'm going to end up doing is, because I've only got 2 of them, so I really don't want to use the variable text. So I'm going to go ahead and change this out and just do it old school way, and change this over to normal, and just do these 2 name tags. But yeah, just keep talking. I'm just working in the background. That's all. So that one's going to be Sam, and I'm just going to duplicate that guy. Oh, wait. Screwed up. See, that's what happens when you're talking. Let's do a copy.
Yeah, JR, that's right. Fume extraction reminds me of office printer. The unit is what it is, but the consumables, replacement filters, is where the money's at. Yeah, you are going to spend money on filters with any sort of fume extractor. It's not cheap to do it right. And you want to protect your lungs and your health and those around you. So having that in an enclosed space it's going to be, you're going to want to spend some money to make sure it scrubs that right and doesn't leave particulate and VOCs in the air. So you were right. The replacement filters are going to probably outpace the initial machine investment eventually.
See, my plywood's got this little spot right there on it. This is just a small piece of scratch plywood anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and send this over to my machine. I'm running this on the Polar Plus. And I've got mine set up to where I send the file over to the machine, and then I set everything as far as my origin and everything there. I like it better this way for that machine. So yeah. Oh, check out my desktop background, by the way, guys. Yeah, that's like some random art from a job. Those are little tiny cutouts of plywood. So yeah. So let me go over and hit this button. Make sure my focus is set.
Let's see. You don't get to see what the man's doing behind the curtain.
Do I know something about a curtain? What?
We don't get to see what the man's doing behind the curtain. You went off screen you're like the Wizard of Oz.
Oh, I was just over there. The OMTEX sits over there beside me. So I was over there setting it up. That's all I was doing. Getting it to going.
So Eileen, I'm not even going to try the
Go ahead and try it. Try it.
Clad maker? I don't know. The 3D print question. Trying to print a 4-inch wide chest with curved lid and cannot get the top to look good. Have tried ironing and also variable quality at 0. Any suggestions? So curved lid and the top. So if you've tried ironing, one thing you can try to do is maybe try increasing your top layer. If it, depending on how it's supported or whatnot, or your infill, having a few extra layers beneath it can help add. The further away it gets from open space, sometimes you can get a smoother print on there, and then the ironing might work a little bit better. Otherwise, you can play around with. It could also be just your, maybe make some minor adjustments to your cooling temp. See if that helps your finish. Yeah, Jack says change the angle you support. You could try printing it at, instead of just leaving it flat and having that curved, you could try tipping it in a different direction. And you're gonna have to add support to hold it that way. But that's a good tip, Jack. That can also help improve the quality. Instead of having it just lay, perpendicular, put it at a 45 or even a 90. See how that works.
Well, this is an interesting one. Tangibly Yours by Tammy says, just laser engraved a coaster using my own tech Polar. When a cold beverage was placed on the coaster, the image started to fade. Was I supposed to coat the image with something? My first question would be, what kind of material was it, first of all? Uh, and I'm assuming that it wasn't an engraving per se, if it's fading. Because typically an engraving, like if you marked it, maybe then it would fade. But if you engraved it, it should have been some material been removed from it per se. But if it's slate, which I'm thinking it could possibly be, it could be that the mark that you made just wasn't, like, it wasn't permanent. Like it just barely got the surface. So I'd be curious what the material is first. My background. Yeah. I used it for tonight's live too, by the way.
It says it was a slate coaster.
Yeah.
So did it?
Yeah, Jeffrey, on the Polar, the way that the height of this camera, you're gonna get that little bit of rounded edges if you get it calibrated correctly. If you do it 100%, I've got two different calibrations. I've got full screen calibration, and then I've got a precise calibration. If I do the precise calibration, the camera only covers like the middle 2/3 of the screen. It's because of the camera is literally 6 inches above the material. So, but I've calibrated it and got it. I've got it to where it's pretty. I'll show you in just a second. It's pretty close, but like I said, cameras are a tool to be used basically just to avoid wasting material, in my opinion, and to try to like visualize what a project's going to look like. But when this finishes, I'll show you. But yeah, you've got it's a little rounded because of the distortion from that lens, but it's calibrated pretty good.
So going back to the slate coaster, follow-up question on that is, did it fade and stay that way, or did it just fade when the drink was placed on it and it came back? It could be just, I mean, slate is somewhat porous. It's going to absorb some stuff, and that will have at least a temporary effect on it. Whether it's permanent or not, I guess over time they may fade some just from, wear and maybe possibly grinding and rubbing on the stuff. But, you say it faded and stayed that way. Interesting.
I'm guessing it wasn't marked thoroughly.
Yeah, I mean, so if you want a more brilliant engraving, you can seal it with like, polyurethane first, and you'll actually get a more brilliant engraving, but you're going to seal the slate from having any sort of, absorption properties to it. And so the water is just going to kind of, the condensation anyway will just kind of maybe pile up, and then it could run off of it. So that would be the risk on it, but that would definitely prevent it from getting that way. I guess I haven't seen it change too drastically and stay that way unless it absorbed something else.
And it could be that it absorbed, it expanded a little bit, and what little bit of engraved there was, it just kind of filled it back in. And once it dries out completely, it may contract back, but it may take it a while to dry completely. But somebody was saying something about my camera. This is my calibration of the camera, which is a lot more precise in the event that you worry about that. But my OCD doesn't like the fact that the edges are not visible. And so I have two different camera calibrations. And like I said, cameras are a tool. They're not something that I stress about as far as if it's, I use framing. So what I've got in here in my OMTech Polar, I've got the full screen camera configuration, and I've got my camera configuration. So I can change between the two calibrations and have it to where the whole screen is filled, which doesn't mess with my OCD. Or I can go over here and import my other one. And that was the one that you just saw. We won't go back to it, but that was the one that you just saw, to where these sections here, it's square. It's not fish-eyed, but it doesn't fill the whole screen. Because like I said, the camera to me, it's just the visualization. It just gets me close. So you can see this is nowhere near where it's at. But like I said, if you're expecting a camera to be a 100% accurate every time, it's a matter of time before you are very disappointed.
So are these just like name badges for the event?
Yeah. And
yeah, the question wasn't that the design, but those were like the coin things you were making, right?
The coins mostly. At this point, they're gonna be getting their badges in the morning. So the chances of May watching this live to this point pretty slim. So yeah. No, these will be handed out
really quick.
Do I?
I'm gonna just send an email really quick here.
Hey, let me ask you this though. Think it's a coincidence?
Unless you stole it.
Do I?
Which one stole from who? Did you steal from her design, or did you use that and recycle the design?
I figured since I had to download a font pack anyway to get the font for this, I might as well use it on the project. So I took the file and added a little. And this is why I have come to love pre-finished plywood. So this is straight off of the laser. You can see it's got some dust and debris. Little isopropyl alcohol. Squirt that on there. Take my little rag right here. Wipe it a little bit. I like to try to the corners, even though this is a CO2, it gets a little black with this material around the edges. So I try to take and wipe off the corners, because the last thing I want is for one of these ladies, which it should get covered up with clear coat, but the last thing I would want was for one of these ladies to have on a white shirt, put this thing on her shirt and have a black line on it. So I try to wipe it off. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom. Yep. And then I take these little polyacrylic, spray them with some polyacrylic, let them dry overnight, and then all I got to do is peel and stick the magnets to the back of them, and we're good to go. Instead of going outside, I may just spray the poly over here. It's not going to be much. It's not going to take a whole lot, because really all I'm trying to do with the polyacrylic is to seal the engrave itself back because these are pre-finished ply. So everything else is already sealed other than the edges. But that polyacrylic will just seal back the engraved part. So I think that's what I'm going to do. Find me a piece of scrapper. Oh, I got one over there. Find me a little piece of scrap. I'll get over here and polyacrylic those real quick. Woohoo!
Make sure that dries.
It'll be dry by the morning. This polyacrylic dries fast. I'm going to use this piece of paper, this piece of material.
Tangibly Yours by Tammy said, just noticed your video on the Ohmtech Polar 55 watt. Are you noticing a big difference from the 50 watt? I have the 50 and was wondering if I should upgrade. I don't know that there's a really noticeable difference, the laser tube wise. Machine to machine, there might be some differences with, how well your air assist is working, things like that, or maybe the air extraction type stuff. But 50 to 55 watt is probably not in and of itself a reason to upgrade, unless maybe you were at the point of replacing a tube and you were able to replace your old 50 watt with a 55 watt. But then you do need to make sure the power supply is matched as well. Back when I first got my original CO2 laser, it was billed as a 60 watt, which it came with a 60 watt power supply, but a 50 watt tube. And when I did upgrade that tube, I went from 50 to 60 watt. I saw a slight increase in performance, but that could have also been just, hey, new tube versus older tube. So I don't know that I don't think there's necessarily a big noticeable jump in just the tube power itself.
Jeffrey, if you'll email me, clack@theclackshack.com, I will send you my 2 camera profiles, and you're welcome to try them and see if you're talking about you're having an issue with calibration. I'll send you my 2 calibrations, and you can try them. Like I said, it's don't expect it to be really, really super accurate. I mean, the camera's 6 inches off the workbed. It's not going to be. So, but if you'll email me, I can send you those 2 profiles, and you can try them and see what you think. It helps, but like I said, I would never use the camera in this Polar Plus for engraved placement. I would frame, use a jig, fixture, something.
Nice comment from JR there, Trade Skillers Anonymous. As we come up on the 2-hour mark, this live remains to be one of the shows I look forward to in my entertainment schedule. You guys are great, as is the audience. Keep up the great work. And, that's a great point on the audience. We really enjoy that kind of back and forth, virtual hangout here that we have every Sunday. So appreciate the comments, but we really appreciate you all coming and bringing the questions and the topics and the things to talk about. It's definitely an enjoyable thing for us as well for that.
Oh yeah. And that's, like I said, I see a lot of other live shows, and I know me and Steve, we have our own flavor. We're not trying to be like nobody else. We don't want to be like nobody else. We want to be us in the way that we do our show and the way that we talk to you guys. But yeah, I mean, if you ever see or think that we could do something to improve, by all means, feel free to make recommendations. But we do like this to be kind of like a hangout, Q&A, questions. I want to keep it entertaining. I don't want it to be a college lecture or some kind of, just format to where we're just in here going, hey, we're awesome and we know all these things and you guys are just, peasants or whatever. Because I see some lives sometimes and it's like, I don't think other people style is what I would like to do. So I do appreciate the fact that some folks appreciate the format, because it is different than a lot of folks, but it's what we do. It's how we feel. Because I don't tell Steve what to say and how to act, and he don't tell me. So you get what you get. Sometimes he just grits his teeth and looks at me funny when I mention chicken livers, but you know what? Who cares?
I was going to say, The flavor you reference is absolutely not fried chicken livers
Hey, I'm going to tell
or
you.
chicken livers of any kind.
I'm going to tell you this. My daughter, since I'm no longer employed during the day, except for myself, I've been doing a lot more stuff around the house. And my wife was actually bragging on me today, which I was kind of shocked about. But I've been doing such things as laundry, dishes, just keeping up the house. I actually been making up the bed, which is something that I've always had kind of a weak spot for because it was early in the morning. I didn't want to be fooling with no bed. But I've also been like basically my 15-year-old's Uber driver. And so the other day I had to take her to get her permit. Well, I told her, I was like, hey, look, we're going to be right there in the middle of town. If you go in there and pass this test, we're going to be like a block from where I get my chicken livers at. And she's like, oh my gosh, yes, we got to go get some chicken livers after I get my permit. And so me and my 15-year-old, after she got her permit, met Brandy over there at the cafe to get some chicken livers. And Brandy is sitting there going, oh my gosh. I mean, if there was ever any doubt that that's your child, here's the proof. So,
Can I get the number for the local child protective services down there?
hey, she loves them, dude. And she ordered because
that's some Stockholm syndrome stuff right there.
Yeah, so I get like a half a pound because they sell them by like the pound. So I get like a half a pound of chicken livers. And like she stepped up and she got the same size plate. Now I think she did leave a few more French fries than I did, but she knocked them back. But yeah, Thursday night, if you're in town early, we can absolutely go get some chicken livers Thursday afternoon. Or Friday for lunch, mate. Well, no. See what it starts.
You're supposed to like provide some incentives for them to want to come, not stay away.
But yeah, we appreciate it, guys. No kidding.
Lance is asking, do you have a source for name tag 2-piece magnets if that's what you're using?
These right here are what I use. I've actually got a few different ones. This year, the ones that I bought this year, though, and I'm going to use. See, I've got some of these other ones. Amazon's my go-to. I got Amazon Business, and I'm going to be honest with you. Yeah, I can order stuff cheaper from other places and pay a whole bunch of shipping and wait for a month for it to get here. I love me some Amazon. Even if it costs me a little bit more, as long as you price appropriately, it doesn't matter. But these that I'm using this year are these guys. And they got like a 3M sticky adhesive, and then they got this magnet, and you just literally peel and stick this little part right here. You just peel and stick it, and then it's got the magnet. So, I mean, they come like, I think there's 100 or 200 to the bulk. And I usually try to keep at least 100 of them on hand because May, I love her. I really do. But she's bad to call me and go, hey, I need this next week. And so if I don't have them like here ready to go, sometimes that pushes into my schedule. It's gotten better since I'm retired, so I don't have to wait as long. But you can get them. I've got them listed on my business page, but you can get these are the last year's models. These had metal with the little metal backers, and same situation. 3M adhesive. I think these are last year's. These may be this year's. Crap, I don't remember which ones. Either way, it's not going to matter. This part's going to be inside a blouse anyway. But yeah, you got these two different options. I just go to Amazon and get them. Like I said, there's JDS. I think you can get them at JDS. You can get them. I don't know if JPP sells them or not. I know JDS does, but they're not expensive on Amazon. I'm wanting to say $20 for 100 of them. I think it was.
I'm seeing a link. $40 for 60, 50 for 100. So they're about 50 cents a piece, give or take. 13 for 30 of them. Oh, here's one that's $32 for 100. Yeah, so they're out there.
Okay, here's the ones that I've gotten. and these are the ones I purchased the last 4 times. So these are 100 set of 100 for $30. So yeah, as a matter of fact, we can go add them to my cart. Yeah. So as you can see, I do a lot of material shopping on Amazon because it's just simpler for me, and I can just literally add stuff to my cart throughout the week, and then at the end of the week, I can hit checkout, and all my supplies for the next week are delivered. So I try to keep, like I said, I try to keep 100 of those on hand because, like with May's event, I think we wound up. This should have me on the name tags. I think this will have me at exactly 100 name tags for this event. I think I am going to go with the metal ones. I think that, because looking at that, I think that's going to be the box that I used the other day. So we're going to use 2 of these metal ones.
So Jerry's asking for pulsed layer alignment with the 0.1 millimeter line. Could you set the number of passes a high number to get your pulses? That's not what we're looking for. You're just looking to a single pulse without moving anything. You don't want the gantry to move because that can change your alignment. So you're just looking for one quick pulse of the laser tube. So you wouldn't want a high number of passes to do it. You don't want it to actually pulse is what we're saying. So
Grace says you guys are the Mr. Beast. I wish we were, but we're not.
I wish I had his nut. Well,
yeah, I mean
with that number.
Hey, we could take his money for a year and split it between the 2 of us for the next 10, and we'd be happy.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, Ryan, we try, but it's a whole futility thing.
Hey, it's guys, it's the way I look at it is I'm here to have fun, just like most of you guys are. Life is short, and I'm gonna have fun. I'm just gonna enjoy myself, and I don't know where these little feet go on my keyboard.
So there's a question from Sawdust Timbell. Do either of you use 3M double-sided tape for multi-layered projects? Example 3M 468 MP. I have. There was it was back in July. I did the custom artwork where I made the honeycomb picture frame for one of my wife's photos that we printed on the Eufy printer that David doesn't have.
Hashtag Steve gets all
we haven't talked about that for a while. Anyway, and yeah, so I could get that stuck down without a lot of squeeze out because I had just a lot of honeycomb shapes around that. I did use that, and it works well. But I will say that the cleanup, the cutout with that many individual little honeycombs, the laser does cut through it, but sometimes the material gets gummy and then it will stick to things. So the cleaning it up was a little bit messier from just the the vaporization of that stuff. But yes, it works very well for multi-layered. So if you have delicate pieces that you're worried about making sure they're all stuck down and not wanting to squeeze out, that it does work well.
Were you using a blue laser on that or a CO2?
That was with the S1. That was with the blue.
Just like, because I feel like, because I've been having some what was it I was doing the other day? I was doing something. Oh, it's this this pre-finished plywood. I get much better looking engraves on this pre-finished ply if I'm doing the finished side with the CO2 at faster speeds than I do with the blue diodes. With the blue diodes, a lot of times I'll get like almost like a dry skin look across the top of it because it's burning the wood underneath, but it's going through the clear coat on it. So that's why I've been doing these name tags and stuff with this fine engraving. I've been doing the name tags and stuff on the CO2. Now, like larger vectors and stuff where it's a bigger file, it's not noticeable. But I noticed it the other day when I did the first batch of name tags. I did 100 name tags on my Atom stack, and I got to looking at them when I was cleaning them, and I'm like, they look a little scaly, like a little, like they got some psoriasis or something on the engrave, And what it was that glazing. in places the glaze was still intact. It wasn't coming off. And so that's when I realized, I'm like, man, that blue laser is going to slap through it. And because it's thin text, it's not getting it hot enough to pull it off of there. So I moved over to the CO2. And of course, the CO2 burns the clear coat off first because it sees it just like, it does clear acrylic. And I'm getting a lot better look with the CO2 than I was with the blue lasers on this particular material. And I haven't noticed it with previous batches, but for some reason, I'm thinking it's because of the smallness of the design. I just started noticing it, and I'm like, okay, no, we're not doing that. So I wound up using the CO2s or the CO2, because currently I only have one CO2 up in the shop, and that's the OMTech Polar Plus, which is running great now that I've got a new power supply in it. I think my power supply was
probably bad from the get-go.
Effective from the beginning because it used to pop. Like when I'd turn it on, it would pop real loud. It sounded to me like a relay engaging, like a really hard hit with a relay. But hindsight, I think it had a short. I think it had a short the whole time, and it just finally shorted one last time.
Merrill Landrum is asking, trying to engrave glass with the OmniX. I'm using the OmniX settings and can't even get a mark. I have tried everything. Could it be the glass? Could be the glass, but if I remember, the settings that they had maybe weren't the best. You did a good video. Was it the wine glasses one with the Omni one?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah. With the Omni, it could be the glass, but it could also be that maybe your focus. Like I would check your focus, make sure you're absolutely sure that your focus is correct. But I did one with glass. And if you go to my Omni, one of my Omni One videos, there's a link in my Omni One videos to my material library. And you can download my material library. And some of the settings like acrylics, glass, and a couple of others, I adjusted my settings on my library as opposed to what ComMarker had shared, because ComMarker set in some of their settings, it was almost like they had just copied and pasted the same settings. So I did change some of my settings in my library. So if you find go to my channel and just search for Omni One. Are you doing that? Is that what you're?
I'm getting I've got the link for your wine glasses one. I'll post that.
Yeah, but if you'll look at my Omni videos,
and you've got your material library linked on that video I just linked.
Yeah, the material library should be in there, and so that'll give you a good starting point. I can't guarantee you that your settings will be exactly the same because glass is not always the same. The molecular makeup, all that, but it should be really close. And the one thing that I will say is I found that doing glass, multiple passes were better. Coming at it from different angles, doing like a crosshatch, like a revolving crosshatch, rotational crosshatch, I had better results. So,
Radu is got a question. Have a couple of 4x4x3 wood blocks, cutting holes with hole saw, but only 1.5 inches deep. Any suggestions on getting the plug out? I'm trying to keep the inside bottom flush as possible. Well,
cutting holes with a hole saw, but only.
My recommendation would be to actually get yourself a Forstner bit instead of a hole saw.
Yeah.
You can try to get that plug out depending on how big it is. If it's smaller and it's in softer wood, you might be able to snap it off with like get like a flat blade screwdriver in there. That might work, but I'm guessing they're a little bit bigger than that. It's going to be really difficult to get that out, short of just drilling a lot of smaller holes around it and busting it out. You can get inexpensive Forstner bits, one-offs or a set at big box store. Oh, let me grab one quick.
Depends on what size the hole is. I'm guessing if the wood block's only 4x4, the holes can't be too big. And if you're not going all the way through the material, a paddle bit would work, as long as you're not going all the way through the material. But now I would say them paddle bits will break your arm if you're not careful. That's the big boy right there.
Yeah, this one's a big one, but this is what it is. It does have this kind of point that will drill into it, so you will always get just a small indent at the bottom of it, but it has the outer teeth and then the inner blades that actually will hog out the material and leave a nice round hole in there. And you can get these everywhere from like 1/8 inch on up to bigger than this. This is a 2 3/4, I think.
Yeah.
He's a big boy, but these are really what you want for making just non-through nice round holes into material.
Especially if you have a drill press.
Yeah.
Those do a really good job.
Or one of those Rockler things.
Yeah, like I got. Yeah, I didn't think about it. I could use that with a Forstner bit too. See, I don't use those a whole lot. I've got some paddle bits that I use, but you got to be careful with them paddle bits because they'll hurt you. Especially the bigger they get, the more apt to bind they are.
So the nice thing is this depth to them. As it works down, that just kind of keeps it
going straight.
Keeps it going straight. It's not going to wander on you too much. So once you get it down and started, it works pretty well.
Yeah. And of course, if you have a CNC, then there's an easy fix.
It can do that too.
You're just going to need an extended reach bit for that 1.5 inch depth, probably. All right. It is 2 hours, 11 minutes, and 32 seconds. So,
yeah.
Any questions, comments, concerns? I mean, I got to get up early and go to work in the morning. Actually, I don't. I got to go see May and them. But because I just recalled I had that text message to make 2 more name tags. But other than that, I don't have a whole lot to do other than machines. I got to get them out, get them ready, get the forms out on my website for you guys that are coming to the meet and greet, and get all that stuff ready. And like I said, if you're coming to the meet and greet and you plan on being in town earlier, shoot me an email and let me know. Give me an email address or a way to get in touch with you. And we'll try to come up with something. Like I said, if nothing else, I'll meet you guys in town Thursday night, and we can get a bite to eat or something like that. Maybe have a little hangout time while you're here. So
should be fun. Wish I could make it, but did a lot of traveling early first part of the year, and gotta save up for next year with CES and other things. So
yeah, we do have CES coming up in January also. Yep. Steve and I both will be in Las Vegas, so that's going to be fun for CES. And so, if any of you are nearby, and let's see who was that. Jeffrey, I am sending you back the 2 lens profiles that I have for the OhmTech Polar Plus, and I think you should have saw how basically you just right click import calibration, and then it'll change it on your camera. So try those and see what you think. Let me know. But that's about it.
Will I come and run a grain truck so you can go to Alabama? I'm not unfamiliar with farm work. I've over the years have helped out with all sorts of things from, simple, watering and feeding the animals to spreading manure with a tractor and skid steer loading and things like that. But I don't know. I'm not sure work will let me out for harvest. My boss's husband's actually a farmer, so she might be sympathetic, or she might be like, "Oh no, I'll never see you again." So, anyway,
Gray, I don't work there anymore, so that's not going to do any good.
Yeah, that might backfire on you.
Yeah, they don't like me there. You might get that guy that didn't like me, and then yeah, that could be a negative impact.
So anyway, well, yeah, like I said, I'll have the video out on that shortly. I've got other project videos in the mix to do as well. So definitely appreciate everybody watching and commenting and liking the videos. That definitely goes to help out. I have a soft goal of trying to get to 25K by the end of the year, but we'll see.
25K.
I have to pump out a little content for that to attract some people, but appreciate everybody doing their part and watching and liking and helping feed that
So where
An
you at
old YouTube
now?
algorithm. So
Let me see where you're at now. You're at 23.4. I think that's doable.
yeah, it's not outside the realm of possibilities, but we'll see how it goes. You know.
So yeah, I actually was able to hit 45K today. Woohoo! Yeah. I would, I would love to hit 50 by the end of the year. I don't think that's going to happen, but hey, stranger things, right? But yeah, if you know anybody that has a laser, CNC, 3D printer, or whatever, or just likes to hang out and talk, shop, have them stop in and hang out with us every Sunday night. Like I said, we've got some big things coming up. Christmas special, 3-year anniversary of Sunday Night Live. We didn't that was kind of snuck up on us. We didn't even think about that one. So we'll be coming up with some stuff to do. And the ones of you that are coming into town, like I said, shoot me a message, shoot me an email. Email works best because, guys, I get my messenger and my DMs, all my stuff, like stuff gets lost there a lot. So if you want to get in touch with me, email is the best way to do it. So clackatsclackshack.com is my email address. And that way I can respond to you, because if not, it will get lost in countless notifications. So, but if you're going to be in town, we'll see you Friday or Thursday. If you're here early, whatever the case may be, just let me know.
Yeah. Y'all have fun with that. Travel safe. And I guess we'll hear all about it next Sunday.
Oh, there'll probably be some discussion about it before then. But y'all have a good one. See ya.